getting blamed because the person doesn't understand, like, oh, it's the publisher or whatever. They're going to immediately blame Steam because that's the website they're working with. And so Valve is and Steam is trying to do whatever they can to not be held accountable for these stupid and greedy decisions of certain publishers.
Because publishers sometimes are a little bit naughty. Now, maybe they're naughty because they're kind of bad, or maybe they just make a mistake and they have a plan where the business bigwigs think, oh, cool, we'll sell this season pass, but the developers are internally screaming, thinking, guys, we can't actually do that. The problem, though, is that means that customers, we get burned. And guess who also gets burned? Big Mr. Game. Because if you're running Steam and via incompetence or malice, your devs and publishers are messing around your customers, well, guess what? Now that's your problem. So this is very much a Steam consumer protection story, and it's one that is very Valve, because they've not went and hired a small army, right, of enforcers who are going to be patrolling Steam. No. Valve are a games design company, right? Now, the thing is, Steam, the actual platform, well, it's game design. They want to incentivize behaviors that are in their best interest. And that means, things that mean that customers feel comfortable purchasing. It also means developers and publishers acting right. So
that's the thing, is anytime somebody has a bad experience with a game on Steam, they have a bad experience with Steam. So, like, they have to manage their own reputation inside of these publishers doing different things that could be good or bad. That's why they have the refund window. That's why, for example, whenever the day before came out and, like, it didn't go well, Steam gave everybody refunds.
Today's story is all about selling an idea and selling a promise of future content and how it goes wrong. What's cool, though, right, is the last few times we've covered Steam stories, especially policy ones, it's Valve being forced by some sort of outside influence. As an example, there were the terms of service changes, which basically were to try to comply with the Californian law. There was all of the stuff with the big class action lawsuits, and that was all Valve responding to external stuff. But here, this is Valve designing their own game, changing the rules, and it's all about battle passes. And this was first spotted by Paweł Janik, who is the Steam DB guy. He does awesome work over there. So what they've done is they've changed their policies on how season passes work. And for the sake of simplicity, so we all understand what Valve actually means, here is how Valve defines it. A pack of current and future content, brackets DLC, customers can buy with a single purchase.
That's really broad. Because what does content even mean? That could mean, like, skins. Yeah, because, I mean, are skins content for a game? I would say they're content. Yeah, for sure they are. That's massive.
So what's of note here is that battle passes, where you've got to unlock rewards through gameplay and like individual DLCs, those don't actually count here. What counts is when you buy a season pass, right?
Okay.
A whole package of things that is purchased before all those things release. And what's really cool is that we have got the full policy document, all of Valve's demands and requirements that developers and publishers have got to meet. And on face value, this absolutely looks like a humongous win for consumer rights. But as always, it gets far more interesting when we dive into the details. And that's possible because of today's sponsor, who keep me protected online. So here's the deal. Data brokers exist. They
the
harvest
volume
our
is
data
low. Is
any
it?
way that they can, and then they sell it. And
Is
that means
better?
we get robocalls, we get spam, and even worse, security vulnerabilities,
Yeah, I had
especially
it
the
turned
likes of
down.
social engineering. And when big corporate data leaks happen, as they
better?
often
Yeah,
do,
okay, good.
that data often ends up with the brokers. And that's where incognito.com/belly their news is a superpower, and it is so simple. We've actually got the legal right to have our data taken down. But that takes hours, and there's nothing stopping that data from being...
It's crazy that, like, you need a service like this. This should just be the law.
...collected. So what Incognito does is it scans the brokers, it automatically sends takedown requests, it adds you to suppression lists, and best of all, it constantly rescans to keep your data down. So here's my Incognito dashboard. You can see 114 sent, 8 in progress, 106 completed, and another 20 run suppression lists. And that means the brokers will not recollect info. And you can have up to 3 emails and home addresses as well. And the upshot is simple. Your data not being spread around without your knowledge or your consent. and I've actually not had a single robocall since I started with them. And Thunder means continuously benefit from the laws that actually exist to protect you, but are only completely invisible. And you can get 60% off an annual plan at economy.com/valuenews. Let's kick things off with the customer perspective here. So Valve codified how these products should appear on the Steam platform, sort of in the same way as Advanced Access, where Advanced Access was a thing, gray area, and then Valve said, hang on a second, we should actually have a clear label, clear system, so that people know what's going on.
Yeah, that's why they have the early access indicator on Steam now. And like, that's a really good thing, because a lot of people don't really understand what the difference between beta, early access, early release, alpha is. Like, all of these terms are kind of used interchangeably, and it's very hard to know like which one are being used in this circumstance.
From now on, before the purchase of a season pass, products must clearly detail these things. A complete list of all DLC included in the pass, so a listing for each of the 4 DLCs that are included. There must be a basic description of the content included in each pass. Valve says, and by the way, I'm reading their policy document here. For example, the first content release might be the Glitterlands expansion, new area to explore, 2 new weapons, and new enemies. Valve's document goes on to say it's not required for DLC to have a final name at the launch of the Season Pass. They say that information about the content in the DLC doesn't need to be detailed, so you can just say as a developer, new weapons, or 2 new weapons, or new zone. That is acceptable. You don't have to list the specific, like, itemized things. Now, they also say, this is where it gets big, expected release date for each DLC. Quarter and year, i.e. January to March 2025, or season/year is acceptable. Of course, a date that's more precise is also fine. As an example, a specific date in the year. And then there's a bit of liking dispute.
Thank fucking God. That way it's actually explained and people know what's going on. You know, imagine that.
Huge, right? A product must have at least one of its constituent DLCs actually released whenever it is offered. So that means that a season pass cannot be sold in such a way that if you buy the season pass, that's it, right? There's no content right now. All that you've done is pre-ordered a bunch of future DLCs. That's actually not going to be allowed. And that being said, pre-orders of a deluxe edition of a game do get their own specific carving out in the rules. So obviously Valve aren't going to publishers and saying, hey guys, no more deluxe editions, because that would lose all of the money.
Yeah,
right?
that would be stupid.
Not to treat that as a separate thing, but there's another rule that is massive for us as gamers and developers. Steam are codified that if any listed DLC is cancelled, Valve will mandate refunds for the comparative value of the cancelled DLC to customers.
Wow. God damn, that's a lot. Holy shit. It's amazing, yeah. Oh my God.
Now, this is really good because, look, generally there would be some form of refund if a plan changed substantially. But the thing that actually matters is, can you trust that refund? Is it backed up by Valve's own rules? Here, it is going to be backed up by those rules, and that matters. Now what we can do is take a look at some recent video games to see who passes these rules.
Yeah, the day before.
Who fails.
That's the one that
the
happened.
devil is always in the details.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Star Wars Outlaws just came out.
Oh.
And it does actually pass. The reason why is they have clear descriptions of the expected dates, there are clear expectations for the content, and there's a full list of everything that you get. Then we've got Space Marine 2. It also passes the new test. Again, it's got all of the detail, even though they are just describing the cosmetic pack contents in generic terms. And then we've got Tekken 8. It actually fails the test. It violates Valve's rules. Now,
don't Tekken 8 players hate the game now? Like, I've heard that a lot of Tekken 8 players are, like, unhappy with, I guess, like, microtransactions and certain types of additions to the game that they've done. That's what I've heard a lot of, though.
Tekken 8 came under a hell of a lot of criticism from fans because of what is actually in its season pass. Now, actually, that's not why they failed the test here. Obviously, you're allowed to sell a season pass that's shit as long as it complies with the rules, but what they don't comply with is that while there is detail of the content available that fits Valve standards, there's no time frame, right? No time frame for delivery, and Valve are not letting developers sell undated promises in their store anymore.
Wow. So it's not just like something can be in early access purgatory forever. That's kind of a really big deal. Holy shit.
And we've got Stalker 2,
Yeah.
which sadly fails on all counts here, actually.
Whoa.
The only thing that they describe whenever you purchase the Ultimate Edition is, quote, Season Pass, guaranteeing 2 additional expansions and any future DLC.
Sure.
Now, of course, detail-wise, Steam has left enough slack here so that as long as each DLC is labeled with new weapons, new enemies, new map, that would be acceptable. And that does mean that most developers are likely going to be fine on that front. And for the developers of Stalker 2, well, they basically just need to get their ducks in a row so that they are in compliance with this. Of course,
it's crazy how many abstract promises that developers have made and how long it's taken for this to actually happen. Because, like, this has been a problem for a long time now.
Let me say, on a personal level, I mean, I know that Stalker 2 has came out, it's had performance issues and all of that, but my god, like, very few games are developed
and also, like, another component for, like, what this is going to do is that if you make a service that is primarily putting customers first, like, so earlier today, some people might not have been watching then, but earlier today, I thought of the idea to try out something like this game, right? So this is a game that people said was, like, not letting people play it because of DLC. Well, I downloaded the entire 90 gig file, and then I find out that in order to play the game, I have to log into a Ubisoft account. I immediately uninstalled it. Like, I wish Steam would make it a rule that if you want your game on Steam, you cannot require a login to a secondary launcher or a login into a secondary account. It can be optional. It can be, you know, advised or suggested, but for it to be mandatory, suck my fucking dick. And at the end of the day, it's just annoying because you're buying something and, like, here's the truth. I'm going to refund this game. I'm going to refund the game because I don't want to have to make another account. It's just obnoxious. It's a mandatory skip button, yes. And so, like, and at the end of the day, where did I have a bad experience, guys? I had a bad experience on Steam. I did. Because I bought the game, and now it's annoying. What about account linking? Account linking is totally fine. The problem is when it becomes mandatory. That is the issue. It's not about it being a possibility or a suggestion or even like, you know, hey, you're gonna get a little bit extra stuff if you do this. But if you have to do it, fuck that. That sucks. I hate that.
The, you know, broader environment that Stalker 2 was developed
Tired
in.
of everything being a service. I am too. I'm so tired of having to make an account for everything. I don't need an account to download my drivers. Like, just let me log in, automatically detect what the drivers are, and just give me the software. Like, why do I need to make an account for a mount? Yeah, I have to have an account for Razer Synapse. Why? Why can't I just have this saved locally onto my PC? Where is the value that I, as a customer, am getting by having a mandatory account? And that's the thing, is I have no problem if they say, hey, you want to save your settings and have them on another computer? Well, we have this account that you can make. I think that's great. But I fucking hate it being forced. It makes me so mad. There is literally no value to me as a customer, and in fact, there is a negative value. Because now I have to keep up with another password, I have to give another person my information, and I have to keep up with another username. Now I have to remember this. It's completely anti-consumer. You are the product? Well, that's the thing, is that the old meme was, if you're not paying for a product, you are the product. Now, you pay to be the product. It's like there's a fucking cover charge to get inside the slaughterhouse. That's not how it's supposed to fucking work.
So, I'm absolutely going to cut those guys
Easy.
some slack. I mean, I think it's only fair. So obviously, the topic release dates, there's a reason why most announcements have got the legalese of, quote, dates subject to change, right, in small print. So Valve are not going to be completely ruthless with developers here. They are giving developers flexibility to allow for delays and development problems because, well, Valve are also game developers. I'm pretty sure they understand that keeping to a development timetable is hard. They run in Valve time, so they take that into account, but they do have rules and punishment. So here it is. If developers cannot make the 3-month window that they set for their DLC, they are allowed to move that DLC to the next 3-month window. But if it's anything more than that, they can't do it in the Steam backend. They can't.
Wow. So if you have to delay more than 3 months, you have to give out refunds. You know what's really funny about this? Is that Valve shouldn't be doing this. Because the government should have already done it. This should already be a consumer protection policy. It's insane that, like, this even have pre-orders will be cooked. That would be 6. Am I misunderstanding? You guys said 6. I want to go back and look at this myself again. I might have misread it. You can pick a new date up to 3 months later than you originally suggested. Yeah. One time only during the season pass. 3 and then another 3. Where does the other 3? What?
They are allowed to move that DLC to the next 3-month window, but if it's anything more than that, they can't do it in the Steam backend. They can't click a button.
Basically 6 months max. I'm not understanding. Yeah, either way.
They need to negotiate it with Valve, right? So they basically need to get a meeting with the principal and explain themselves. And if that DLC is delayed past the 3-month point, even if no customer has complained to them, then Valve will actually consider action.
Yeah.
And of course, that is action that, will hurt the developer's bottom line. That means that there are clear consequences. Valve's framing to develop.
I understand what you guys are saying now. You're saying that theoretically inside of a 3-month window, because it's based off of seasons, that you could release at the later half of the season rather than the beginning of the season. So 6 months would be a theoretical outcome, but realistically it would be 3 months. Is that what people are trying to say? Yes? Okay. That's not 6 months. I don't agree with that thinking, but like it could be theoretically, right? So basically it is less than 6 months no matter what, and in some cases only 3 months. Yeah, it's not 6 months. Yeah, it's more like up to 6 months. Yeah. And that's in a best case scenario. So for example, right? Like holiday season ends in December. So if your planning was to release it in December and you said holiday season, you would actually only have 3 months that you could extend it to, because you'd already be in December to begin with. You see what I'm saying? So like that's just an example, right? Okay, so all right, now we're all on the same page, because I was getting really confused with what people were saying. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? But okay, yeah, I can see what the very, very stupid nuance, but that's fine. It's okay. The point is, yes, obviously it would be less than 6 months always, but sometimes only 3 months, depending on what the release schedule was. That's right. People like being pedantic in order to argue. It's nothing new. Anyway, yes, this is a good thing. Very good thing.
Hurt the developer's bottom line. That means that there are clear consequences. Valve's framing to developers and publishers is clear.
Well, the reason why there's consequences to the developer is because there's consequences to Steam. When people get refunds on Steam, Steam has to probably pay. Like every refund that Steam does costs them money. There is some form of transaction that it costs Steam in order to give somebody a refund.
Is a commitment to future releases, and it's one that they want as a contract.
Yeah.
Here's a quote. if you aren't ready to clearly communicate about the content included in each DLC and when each DLC will be ready for launch, you shouldn't offer a season pass once.
Damn. Damn, bro. Don't make promises you can't keep. Or if you do, we're gonna refund everybody. Oh my fucking god. That's not too much to ask. It's really not. Basically saying you can't sell vague promises anymore. They're gonna make some enemies. Well, here's the thing, is that a platform that puts consumers first will create a pressure on developers to have developers use that platform. A lot of developers probably don't like Steam. They probably don't like how it's designed. They don't like the cut that they take. They don't like a lot of things. But it doesn't matter because that's where the fish are. That's the truth.
So if a 6-month window for release isn't enough, Valve will
you gotta
actually
fish where
consider
the
that
fish
to be
are.
a breach of contract between developers, Valve, and customers. And as a punishment, they will actually take action.
Damn.
Here are Valve's punishments. The Season Pass may be removed from sale. They also say all unreleased content may be refunded, or customers may get the option of a refund for the whole pass. And
oh my god. Bro, they're laying it down. That's insane.
And the same will actually apply
Look at
if
this.
the Season Pass hasn't released for 1 year as well. And the ultimate
Holy
point here is
shit.
that customers will not lose it.
What's this here? If somebody says, what about small indie developers who struggle more than AAA developers? Why would, no, so let me get this straight. You think that because you ran into a production problem, now the consumer needs to pay for that? That's not how it works. You're selling a product. The only thing that matters is whether your product hits the market or not. You're thinking about empathy, but what about whenever you take somebody's money and you don't give them what you told them that you were going to give them? Where's the empathy there? It's completely one-sided. No, you're not going to trick me with that shit. Yeah, it's not Kickstarter. Exactly, man. Yeah, people don't want to get scammed. Like, if you can't release a game and you don't know when it's going to come out, then maybe don't put it on there. And also, AAA devs fuck up like this all the time. I feel like this is mainly for the AAA devs, not for the indie guys. The indie guys, generally, everything's fine. I mean, yeah, you have, like, bad, there are bad games, right? We all know, like, the, very notorious bad indie games. But I feel like they're few and far between.
Because the developer cannot meet their promises. Of course, promises the developer has stolen from the customer. That's a lot of developers will say. That is, it will feel harsh. But you know what? This industry has been damaged so much by commitments to players just being fast and loose and not being respected.
Well, at the end of the day, people are spending money on things that they're not getting. Like, if you want to break this down on, like, a super rudimentary contract level, the company said they were going to give you something within a time frame, and it didn't happen. Now, if somebody charges you money for something, and then you don't get what you paid for, you should get your money back. It's not complicated. It's not like this is some kind of, like, wizard analysis. It's common sense.
Why games discussion and culture is such a flippin' mess these days. So let's talk about games that will fail this criteria. Redfall. Yeah, Redfall, remember that? That's a recent example where, because Microsoft shut down the development studio, there was simply no plan to make the Season Pass DLC. Now, obviously, Microsoft did offer refunds there, but it was initially unclear if that would be the case, as Microsoft framed that a make-good offer was being worked on, which, in that case, it's got to be money, or I'm saying no. Now,
well, it's also because they're worried about getting sued. And this is another really big component, is that, do you remember when Steam, this was like kind of like maybe like, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, Do you remember when Steam kind of late at night pushed an update that everybody had to agree to? You guys remember that? Like, everybody had to agree to some update. It was about, like, AI or some kind of thing like that. I don't remember exactly. Only USA? It was in the USA. Yeah, that must be it, because I think it was a response to a California law or, like, a lawsuit that happened. Yeah, for licensing. And so, anyway, arbitration. Steam doesn't want to get roped into a lawsuit when a company puts out a video game and then they don't deliver it, and now Steam gets named in the lawsuit, and now they're involved in a class action lawsuit for fraud. You see what I'm saying? This is how, like, and this has been their perspective on AI as well. Steam does not have a problem with AI, but they do have a problem with saying that you don't have AI. They're always looking at trying to minimize their own risk. And that's what they're doing here. Dude, just stop watching Belluer. His content has fallen off so much that he is now in Ireland. His content is just a commercial. I was a big fan of his, but then he started to be more commercial, and his content started to be dumb as fuck. He only cares about farming views. So here's what's really funny about that. So if I look at Belluer's videos, he's actually been getting substantially more successful. Like, if you look at this one, this has like 900,000 views. This is 450,000 views. Like, his approach to he's taking the content now has been incredibly successful, and he's doing an amazing job. This is probably the most successful his news channel has ever been. So I understand that maybe he banned you in the comment section, so you're coming in here and complaining to me, but you're just factually wrong. Yeah, you're just wrong. There's probably a WoW player who's mad that he's not playing WoW. That's probably what's going on. Yep. Complaining, and yeah, as I told you, bro, like, WoW players are something else.
Years ago, Assassin's Creed Unity, that saw Ubisoft have their release pass removed from sale because of the game's launch issues, which at the very least were pretty damn funny to watch. Now, in that case, Ubisoft still did commit to releasing their DLC regardless, with all of the Season Pass owners getting that as a part of their purchase. Plus, everybody in the community actually got the first DLC, and then Season Pass holders got a free Ubisoft game to make up the cost. So that was them trying to navigate the situation. But obviously here, with Valve, well, a developer doesn't just get to say, oh, yeah.
Well, that's a bad solution, because, like, if they say, like, let's say you go to Taco Bell and you want to buy something, and then they take your money, and then they tell you, oh, okay, well, you can have something else on the menu. Well, I don't want something else on the menu. I wanted that thing. Give me my money back. Like, it's just like, some people, like, I don't know why, like, this has happened, is that so many people and, like, just random internet users have turned into professional dick eaters for companies. Have you guys noticed this? Where they're constantly trying to defend bad business practices. I don't know why they do this. Why have people turned into dick eaters? Why is this happening? You received a refund if you don't want the game? Yes. I don't get why.